So this year is flying by, and I just don't understand how it could be Halloween practically, and November is just a couple of days away. I don't know where this year has gone, but time needs to slow down. I'm going to go ahead and place my November TBR here because I'm participating in two readathons this month. One that I'm hosting called the Big Hair Don't Care Readathon. Basically, each prompt is based off a greatest hit from each year in the decade of the 1980s. And I'm also participating in the DC Comic-Thon Readathon. So here are the books that I've chosen to read for those two readathons. I haven't picked up a nonfiction book in quite a while. I did to end October. This was originally going to be one of my readathon books for November, but I got so swept up in the story that I had to finish it before November even started. There's a quote in the story that says, "The hero of the story is always the storyteller. The storyteller has the power." And in this book, In the Shadows of the Valley, Bobby Kahn tells her story. She was raised in a remote Kentucky holler in 1980s Appalachia. She remembers her home tucked away in the forest paradise with streams and ponds full of frogs and crawdads. She'd walk to her grandmother's house and pick blueberries off the side of the road and blackberries, and they were the best tasting berries that she ever had in her life. But she also remembers her abusive father, who was an underemployed alcoholic, and his rage against Bobby and her mother were frighteningly typical of a community of people that were marginalized, desperate, and ignored. Bobby had a rule of survival, and that was always be vigilant, but endure it silently. Bobby slipped away from home, attended college, and got a white-collar job. And for this, she was mistrusted by her family for her progress, but she was also condescended by her peers for her accent and for her history. Bobby's story is one of hope for all vulnerable populations, particularly women and girls that are stuck in the cycle of abuse. I really needed this story at this particular point in time. I think that it's important for us to hear stories of women who overcome adversity and become successes, and this book definitely fulfilled that role. I gave it 4 stars, but to be quite honest, if I were to rate it now, I'd rate it much closer to 5 stars. It was a good book. I would definitely recommend it to anyone. Wow, I can't believe it's November already. I've already finished one of my first books for the month. It's called Meet Cute Club by Jack Harbin. The basic premise of the story goes like this. Jordan Collins doesn't need a man. He needs his favorite author to release another of her sexy supernatural romances and for more people to sign up for his romance book club. He also needs for the new employee at the local bookstore to stop making fun of him for reading things meant for grandmas. The last thing he needs is for this very same bookstore employee to barge right into his Meet Cute book club and join. But Jordan's book club is not thriving very well, so he does not feel like he has the opportunity to say no to anyone who wants to join. In the process, Jordan discovers that Rex may not be the arrogant troll that he made himself out to be, and maybe it was wrong, like in all things in life, to judge a book by its cover. I thought this was a really cute book. Was it the best book I've ever read? No. But it was really sweet and cute and just had the cozy feel-good vibes. It was an independent published book, and I really kind of enjoyed it. It was my guilty pleasure for the month. So I gave it 3.75 stars. Like I said, not great, but definitely a cozy, feel-good read. Happy Friday, friends. I'm kind of excited about today because I finished 2 books and I gave both of them 5 stars. The first book that I finished this morning is a book called The Educated by Tara Westover. She is a woman who was born in Idaho to survivalist parents who viewed hospitals, schools, and the government as evil. And she didn't even enter a classroom until she was 17 years old. And she went on to study at Cambridge and Harvard. She was the person who education liberated her, but she lost her family in the process. I'm not really going to give away anything else to this book. I think you should go read it. Yes, it's nonfiction, and yes, it's very worth the read. A good story about overcoming so many obstacles. It can be done, and such a great girl power story as well. Once again, I've always talked about how girls rule and boys rule, and in this case, same. The other 5-star book that wins the day is Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere. This is the story that occurs under the streets of London, where there's a world that most people could never dream of. It's a city of monsters and saints, of murderers and angels, of knights in armor and pale girls in black velvet. Neverwhere is the London of the people who have fallen beneath the cracks. Strange destinies lie in wait in London below. A world that seems entirely eerily familiar, but is utterly bizarre, populated by unearthly characters. A single act of kindness has catapulted young Richard Mayhew into the realms of Neverwhere. He goes from his safe, predictable life into the chaos of Neverwhere. Richard is about to find out more than he ever wanted to know about this other London, which is really a pity because all Richard wants is to go home. This book was fantastic. Sometimes I think I would like to spend about 10 minutes in Neil Gaiman's head because his brain just comes up with such fantastic and strange, bizarre situations. And then other times I think it would probably terrify me to spend more than about a minute in his brain. But this book has so much unique stuff in it that I couldn't wait to turn the pages and see what he had going on next. This was an excellent musical fantasy, and if you're into that at all, I would highly recommend Neverwhere for you to read. I have just spent the whole day reading and watching a little bit of football. Today I started and finished a book called The Testing by Joelle Charbonneau. Here's the synopsis. It's graduation day for 16-year-old Valencia Vale and the entire Five Lakes colony, formerly known as the Great Lakes. This whole colony is celebrating. All Sia wants is to be chosen for the testing, a United Commonwealth program that selects the best and brightest new graduates to become leaders of their slowly revitalizing post-war civilization. When Sia is chosen, her father tells her about his own nightmarish memories of the testing. Armed with his dire warnings, she bravely heads off to Tosu City, far away from friends and family. Danger, romance, and sheer terror await. This book was tolerable for me. I thought it was basically a rewrite of The Hunger Games. Very, very similar to The Hunger Games. Almost criminally similar. However, I did find it a little bit interesting. I like dystopian stories. And so this one did, to a degree, hold my interest. I gave it 3 stars. It was serviceable. Not running out to read any of the sequels or to do a reread of this, but it was okay. So that's it for this week, and here is what I'm looking forward to next week. I can't wait to read this book and tell you what I think about it. Have a great week.